Good evening, everyone. Welcome to class this evening. As usual, we're going to give you 5 minutes to settle down and to get your other team members into the room. Our facilitator is here already, so please, party chairman, get your people into the room. Thank you.
Hello, good day, everyone. Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Eddie.
Okay. What's going on? Have you read what's going on? I just joined the class now.
Yeah, I'll do that now.
Thank you. Facilitator is in class. Let's just move with this. Thank you.
All right, Babasola Kutsi, a seasoned politician, entrepreneur, and social analyst, holds a degree in business information systems with human resource management from Middlesex University Business School in London. He's the founder of Afri Products Limited in 1999. He has led innovative ventures for over 16 years, spanning fresh juice and smoothie chains, luxury goods, business development, consultancy, telecoms, infrastructure, oil and gas, exports, and trading. Afri Products Technology Arm, in a joint venture, introduced smaller denomination mobile recharge vouchers in Nigeria and launched the country's first e-commerce enabled website, Saka, 1999. Shola Kuti's political journey includes serving as a special assistant to Senator Talks Ogunbanjo in the Nigerian Senate from 2003 to 2007. Not a political novice, he aimed for the governorship of Lagos in 2015, running an impressive campaign. Additionally, he contributed to the PDP Presidential Campaign Council in the 2011 and 2015 elections, advocating for the party's ideals on various platforms, including multiple TV appearances. Passionate about youth involvement in politics, Shola mentors young entrepreneurs, emphasizing the importance of their participation. With a warm applause, virtual warm applause, can we welcome our facilitator for today, Mr. Babasola Kuti, as he takes us on the role of opposition in politics. Good to have you again, sir. Welcome.
My chairman.
Good evening,
My
everyone.
chairman. Good evening, my chairman.
How
You know
you
that
guys
it's only
doing?
on this class I can catch you. It's only on this class I can catch
No,
you. You know you've abandoned me. You've abandoned
you
me,
know where to
Ebon. I
find
don't
me
know.
now.
Is this
You're
how
not
we
looking for
are
me.
now? Oh, I'm looking for you. I'm looking for coalition Joyce. Eh?
I was saying to my wife now that this class is becoming more and more interesting as we go
Yeah.
along. It's almost as if
Yes.
it's prophetic, isn't it? I
Yes,
wish
it
the
is. It
students had
is.
listened to this class maybe a year ago.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I will.
But I'm going to change the slides after today's lecture. Actually, I didn't have time today. I was watching
Thank you
rugby
very,
earlier on.
thank you very much, Ebon. This is about the 16th time we've had you. It's a
Wow,
big
wow,
pleasure. A
wow.
lot of things you've done. We've trained over 14,000. I thank you for
Wow.
everything you've done. I can't, you've been a big brother to me, and I'm still coming over that coalition, but
We'll talk about that
we'll
one.
discuss in
We'll talk about that
camera.
one privately.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
So good evening, everyone. Obviously, it's a pleasure for me to be here again. I can't believe I've done 16 of these. In fact, I'll just say to someone I've done this for a few years, but it obviously means I've been doing this for about 4 years. It's a pleasure to be able to give back. In terms of, I always say that, when I was growing up and I was being lectured myself, I used to say that I wanted somebody to lecture me based on their personal experiences, because you don't forget when somebody teaches you something based on a real life story. It's easier to recollect, the interesting points. So today we're going to be talking about the role of opposition in politics. It comes at a really good time. As you all know, opposition is facing the biggest challenge in Nigeria today. It's never been this horrible. I think the last time that came close to this was possibly when Obasanjo was president, and his second term was quite bad. But I think that this definitely, what we've witnessed in these 2 years, is quite scary for Nigerian politics. I'm going to try and share my screen, so I need someone to confirm that they can actually see the screen. You should be able to see that now.
Yes, we can.
Oh, excellent. So, the way I've done the course is to basically talk about how we can successfully navigate politics in Nigeria as an opposition party. And that's why I said it's interesting. I was saying to Kole just a few moments ago that it's almost as if this lecture series is almost like a prophetic series, because we've been talking about the challenges that are facing opposition parties in Nigeria, and we kind of like always in our discussions after, we always seem to be afraid that we're going to end up where we are today, but we are finally here, and I think it even makes it more interesting, because now the challenge is going to be just beyond being opposition. It's going to be how to rescue opposition and then do the job that opposition is meant to do. So let's talk about what opposition is meant to do first, and then we'll come to that in our discussions. So generally, opposition parties are referred to as any party that is not in power. So essentially, if you look at Nigeria as an example, the opposition parties will be the parties that are not in power. When you look at the national level, it will be APC is the party in government, so every other party is opposition. But if you went to a state like Osun, where PDP is in government, PDP is no longer opposition, to Osun. They actually the party in government. Opposition there will be APC plus others, and so on. If you go to Abia, it will be LP in government, PDP, APC, and all the rest are opposition, and so on and so forth. So essentially, this definition of opposition being the largest non-government party or coalition of parties in the National Assembly is technically correct. So if you look at it, because we don't run a parliamentary system like they do in the UK. So in the UK, what you have is different parties bringing candidates together to run for parliament. So essentially, House of Reps. Now, what happens in that instance? Everybody will go and win as many House of Reps seats as they can. Then whichever party has the most numbers in terms of House of Rep seats will then form government. And when you form government, the idea basically is that you are the majority, and then the other parties are the minority. But then there's this definition talks about the largest non-government party. So essentially, that is referring to main opposition. So main opposition is the largest non-government. That's the largest party. So that's where that comes second, basically, in the election, and it's not in government. And obviously that is at state level, like Nigeria, it changes. But here we don't have all that state stuff. We have obviously mayors and stuff like that. But what happens is when you form government, even to become a minister, you would need to be a member of parliament. So you have to be a House of Rep member technically to become a minister in this country. They couldn't just appoint me now and say, you come and be minister. It's not possible. I'll have to first go and run an election in my local area, win that election, go into parliament, and then based on that, they may then choose me as a minister, which I think is the best type of politics, really, because then everybody that is given a job to do as a minister or as an advisor or whatever is then technically also looking at their home base to say, if I mess up, my home base won't vote for me, so I've got to be careful. So what is the role of opposition in politics? So we all know that opposition's main role is to put the government's feet in fire, basically, challenge all their policies, their actions, their words, their manifesto, their speeches, and essentially make government more accountable to the people. That is what the role of opposition is. It isn't anything else. It isn't to win elections. The reason why governments are formed and opposition is very critical is that, think about it like this. Even if you were, for instance, PDP has been in opposition for, I think this is the fourth election, third election. So Buhari twice, Tinubu once. And essentially, that's basically around 12 years, maybe a little under 12 years, maybe 10 years. But the point is that we've been in opposition for a long time. But it doesn't stop us from doing the job of opposition, because if opposition main role was to win elections, we would only want to win elections. But even while we're out of power, our job is to actually hold the the government accountable to the people, and this is why what is going on in Nigeria is quite interesting at the moment, because we've seen this attempt before. Look, there's nothing new in Nigerian politics. I always tell people, if you go back, my dad tells me a lot of stories about Zik and Awo and betrayals and all this kind of horseplay, the camping. For instance, I can't remember what the story was. Oh, I always forget the story. But there was a story about when I think Awolowo and Zik agreed on the leadership who will become president or something, or senate president or something like that. And they agreed and they went away. But by the morning, Zik had arranged some people from the other party to basically decamp. So he now got majority, and all of a sudden, there's nothing new under the sun in terms of politics, not even anywhere in the world. And so, how does opposition fulfill this role, this critical role? It's a role I always want to focus on, because I always believe that it's almost like a football tournament. Let's use the English Premier League as an example, and most people know the English Premier League. So imagine that Arsenal now is trying, or Liverpool now is obviously going to win. But Manchester City comes into it because they too want to win, and it gives the league a bit of gusto. But imagine if Liverpool can beat every team in the league, every team. When I say, as in even Manchester City, they know that we're going to win every game. After like 2 or 3 seasons, it becomes boring, right? And then Liverpool doesn't really they don't have to do much. It's just like, well, we're going to win anyway, so let's not bother. This is exactly how politics works. You want somebody to be looking at government and challenging government for that position that they're in. Somebody that's threatening government to say, we're going to take over, so that government will work hard and the people will benefit. So as opposition, the job you have to do is to examine what government is saying, what government is doing, and then tell them, look, Oga, this policy doesn't work. This is why it doesn't work. It is not enough to just say it doesn't work. It's also, you must also give your own solution. So you cannot build a 10-kilometer road at 1 billion naira because it's not cost effective. However, if we were in government, we would build this 10-kilometer road at 200 million because there's this technology in China which we have discovered, and we know that it reduces costs by up to 70%. But that's just a rough example. So you must come forward not just with criticisms, but you must also give your own solution that is, in a way, better than what the government is proposing. So some factors we look at, like I always say, this is a no-brainer, but a lot of people actually don't look at that fact that free and fair elections actually helps to promote good opposition. People don't look at it. They don't even know that this happens. Reason being that when you don't have a free and fair election, opposition is bitter. They believe we want, like what is happening today. Peter Obi swears he won the election. Atiku swears he won the election. So they're not happy with the outcome. They don't believe the outcome is free and fair. So obviously it darkens the discussions around government. So it's almost like they will now start saying things like, it's an illegitimate government. They didn't win the election. They stole the mandate. So that means that they cannot be good opposition because they don't even believe that government is legitimate. So they're not going to want to engage that government in a constructive manner. They're going to always be, this bad blood kind of politics. So it is so important that as a first step, elections are seen to be free and fair, and that parties are able to, accept the results of those elections. And then we need a good political climate. Again, we don't want a climate where today I say something negative about the government, and tomorrow the DSS arrests me or EFCC arrests me that I stole a pencil when I was in nursery school, and starts to drag me up and down from court to court just because I'm criticizing government. You want there to be some sort of like mutual respect between parties. And the truth is that these politicians, there's mutual respect between them. You know what I mean? If you think about it, when their children get married, they all gather and hug themselves and laugh and crack jokes, and they point to each other, like, you, this, that. Because at the end of the day, they know it's a game. But sometimes, like you've seen also, some people are also, especially people that are not actually politicians, just journalists, regular citizens are getting arrested for criticizing even churches, you know. That's not a politics discussion, but it's also not a good climate for people to, because whoever criticizes a church is also in some way or the other holding the church's feet to the fire. So they are kind of opposition. And so if you can't criticize a church, how can you criticize government? Because there's one thing that I learned very quickly when I was getting involved in politics. Somebody told me, don't fight government, because government is God on earth. God with a small g. And it is true. Just imagine what government can do and undo. They can break your house. They can throw you in jail. They can even, some have even killed. And nothing happens to whoever it is that, you know, perpetrates these, you know, quite heinous actions. And then the other thing that helps good opposition is when we have citizens who are also vibrant. You know, there's no point in an opposition party with 200,000 members or 50 members shouting every day in the media, and people are like, I beg. These people too, they make noise. You know, it kind of like drowns out, because at the end of the day, the only thing that will keep government on its toes is if it thinks that a lot of people are siding with the opposition, you know, and essentially government is afraid to lose elections. That's the only thing they're afraid of, because it's almost like getting fired from your job. You know, that is your source of income. And most of these politicians, they have no other job, which is why I always like it when they read my profile, so that young people can see that I have a life beyond politics. You know, I've gone, in fact, before I entered politics, I had a life that I think that if our politics made me poorer, you know, I'll be honest with you, if I continue, me and my colleagues always sit down sometimes, and, you know, when we're together at events, we say, imagine if we did this. We brought the first 103 ATMs into Nigeria. And then I decided that, no, I wanted to be a politician, because my dad said, you cannot be complaining about people on TV that are ministers speaking bad English, not being coherent. And then you that you're educated, you're sitting at home, you know, pointing at the TV. You have to go out there and put yourself and see how easy it is as well. So I said I was going to do that. So, you know, going into politics was one of the hardest decisions I made. It affected a lot of things in my life. And people that are close to me will tell you that my life went through vigorous transformation, not just because of politics, but because I decided to do a different brand of politics. You know, that's a story for another day. So on the flip side of that, if you do not create a good climate, you have a hostile climate, there's a threat to freedom of speech and association. As you can see, there's a threat to freedom of association, because if you look at what has happened in Delta as an example, you will know that there's some kind of the witch cried at night, the child died in the morning. The witch must have killed the child, because first of all, EFCC first arrested Okowa, charged him for stealing 1.3 trillion. I mean, if that is even imaginable. And then they also arrested Udom, former governor of Akwa Ibom. And then you had Eno Umo suddenly proclaiming that for building a road with federal government money, Tinubu is the best thing since sliced bread, and he will support him in 2027. You know, and you know that there's a threat to freedom of association, because, please, let us be reasonable. Wike, who singularly not just supported, but he absolutely rigged, I would say it anyway, rigged Rivers State for Tinubu to get the maximum votes, is still not a member of the APC, but he's a minister. So rather than getting the Wike, who is not a member of the APC, who did damage to PDP while he was in PDP and he worked for APC, why don't you let these governors do the same thing? Why do you have to force them to come into your camp? And I'll tell you the reasons as well as we go along. You know, so again, you can see that the freedom of association is being seriously threatened. because they're now saying if you don't come to our party, you're going to jail. They did it to this Senate president himself was being hounded. That's why, Buhari would never cease to amaze me. He was being hounded by EFCC for stealing money. I knew many times he visited the EFCC. But suddenly, he turned up in APC. He barely won an election. He's now Senate president. And look at the absolute nonsense he's doing. But yet, you will tell me that there's freedom of when he key of all people, because he's a very good talker. So he was always, it's like Wiki, APC, never, blah, blah, they can't win here. And then he joined APC and we're like, how will Akpabio be able to talk now? But he did well, he even became a minister. So you can see that it makes no sense, this kind of opposition politics, where people they put a gun to your head practically to come and join them and continue stealing money, because that's what they're doing. And again, we need to, as citizens, support opposition, because, for instance, if you just, and this argument of PDP and APC are the same, has really helped in watering down, and yes, it is true, when you look at even the composition of APC, is ideally people that were in PDP, more or less, and so on and so forth. So it's just water mixing with water. There's nothing new there, but citizens need to kind of like always support opposition parties more, because they're likely to be the ones that will challenge the party in power from doing absolute nonsense. And then we have to look at the quality of leadership in these parties. And you can see for yourself that in parties where you have strong, respected leaders, you have a bit more discipline, just a bit more. The political class is generally indisciplined. I mean, I can say this for a fact because I've been following politics since, I think, maybe UPN days. I was probably, a teenager or even younger than a teenager. What am I saying? In 1970, I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. But my dad was a UPN agent, so I would hear also some horror stories about how votes were changed. This was in 1979. So I always say there's nothing new under the sun. And you can see that parties that, like, when Awolowo was alive, the UPN had a lot of lofty ideas. They also did what I always ask the PDP to do, which is essentially, if you were in the UPN stage, you see the same kind of model of schools, same kind of model of primary health care centers, same kind of model. They had a pattern so that they were showing people, look, this is how our states are. If you want your state to be like that, vote for us. But all that I've talked in the PDP, nobody's listening. So again, if you don't have quality leadership in opposition parties, you're just wasting your time, because the leaders will spend most of their time during election season collecting money from people who cannot get tickets in APC and PDP, and banking that money and using it to live luxury lifestyles and buy cars and enjoy themselves. And then after election, they will spend the time going on all sorts of courtesy visits to the party that won and pledging their alliance and their support, which for me does not make sense. If you don't want to be enough, that's why when I need to register these parties, I don't pity them. I say, in fact, let the party just be 2 or 3. Let us know that we're not messing around. Because what is the point of having parties that are supporting the party? What then is the opposition, And then the organization of most of these opposition parties are just absolute mayhem. It's like, sometimes not like, in fact, Nigeria is so bad that every opposition party has a faction, and then inside that faction, there'll be factions. And it's so bad that even Christian Association of Nigeria has faction. Almost every organization has a faction now, because it's become very fashionable for government to attack institutions that might oppose them and create mayhem in those institutions, in order to, control those institutions so that they can use them as tools to either silence them or use them as tools for elections. And a very poor example of opposition, I can't take this one off, because today I know that you all are grappling with the astronomical cost of petroleum products. When I look at this, they were asking Jonathan to leave fuel at 65 naira per liter. Today, fuel is like more than 10 times this cost. More than 10. Maybe at some point it was even up to maybe almost like 15 or 16 times this cost. And these same people that are standing here have not gone out onto the streets to scatter the whole country. They're just saying it's okay. And again, it's a poor opposition, was a poor opposition strategy at the time. Well, essentially, that's why I started by saying that it's not just about winning elections. If you consider winning elections, then you will do what they did, which is that it isn't that, and don't get me, it isn't that they knew that it was a lie or they didn't have a point, but what they did was strategically feed into people's anger at the time and push people out, pay for people to go out on the streets, do that their jamboree with music, people performing, dancing, singing, to say fuel should not go up in price, we should not remove subsidy. When Johnson's argument then was like, look, this subsidy, people are just used to defraud us, and it's costing the government too much, but let's get rid of it. And I think at the time, wanted to increase fuel price to 100 and something. The point is that they resisted it. He himself wasn't strong enough to push through because he was looking at elections. Elections are a couple of years away. When you make discussions about elections, this is exactly what happens. People end up suffering for your bad decisions. So today we've removed subsidy, but we're still paying subsidy. We can't explain that one. We're paying high prices for fuel, but somehow government was still and is still paying subsidy till tomorrow. So it's almost like a very confusing situation. But the point is that opposition should have known better than to use subsidy as an argument if they, in their own term in office, would then be forced to remove it. Because it's not only Tinubu, but he tried to remove it. It was he looked at the math and thought, no, this is not nice. I can't do this to people at the moment. Things are not great in Nigeria. If I add this to people's rules, it's just going to create like mega inflation and increase poverty. And this is exactly what has happened. But it isn't to say that this is a bad idea. And that's the point I always want to make. It is just that it's a bad way to bring government, to make a government look bad. You basically create this mass revolt against the government, but when you get into government, you then decide that, oh, that government was right, by the way. So, so basically it wasn't necessary to have done all this, and that is the point I'm trying to make. And this is another poor example, but this example has now metamorphosized into what we're looking at today. I mean, it's not today, this is not the first time governors have decamped. In 2015, when Jonathan lost, a couple of years before that, Amechi decamped, as well as Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, as well as a few other, I think they called themselves then, they had one name that they called them, I can't remember, something group, integrity group or something. They decamped and went to the opposition APC, and they helped Buhari win. So it isn't the first time. And please forgive Wike for the way he's buttoned his suit. I'm sure that day was having a little bit of gene problem or something. And this is another very poor example of opposition. Opposition going to stand with the sitting president. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. There are times when they have to meet, under different auspices. I think the National Economic Council, all the governors of the states will be involved, the NSA, blah, blah. They can go and sit down, shake the president, laugh with him. I don't care about that. But what these five guys did was, nothing short of treachery. It's the worst sort of politics that you can play. It is to be in a party and make sure that your party's candidate does not win because you think power needs to go to a certain part of the country. Now, it's such a stupid argument. I always say, when people say, but I think we shouldn't have contested, blah, 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 blah. I always say to people that the first thing that you owe your party is to win that election. Because if you lose the election, whether the power is in the south or north, you are not getting anything from that power. In the end, I think two of these guys, Autumn lost his senatorial bid, Ugwanya, I don't know if he contested. What was the other one? Ikpeazu lost his central bid. Yes, I think, in fact, in Abia, his governorship candidate didn't even get anywhere. I think one of them died, he replaced it. But the point is that, in the end, the point I'm making is that, in the end, they lost out. Makinde managed to win his governorship election, which is not a problem. But he practically has like an imbalance in his state of House of Assembly and the National Assembly. So a lot of APC people also won their elections in that one. Wike was able to put a governor in, but unfortunately, he lost the governor now, so there's a war in Rivers. Tinubu himself has just kind of like placated the people in Lagos, because in Lagos, what had happened was that the people had decided that, you know what, this man is in federal now, doesn't know what we're suffering here. They're not going to give Obasa power, because Obasa is the one that holds the structure now. So they removed him. And I think what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's true, is that the governor told the Obas that, oh, you know what, he has collected permission from Baba to remove Obasa. And they just said, okay, let's go. And they told the House of Assembly members, and they removed him. And that was that. Unfortunately, all these people standing in front of you, apart from Wike, didn't get anything from government. Today, Makinde is now claiming that he wants to run for president. I mean, it is the most laughable thing ever. When you have told the world that power must go to the southwest or the south, okay, no argument, but power is in the south now. If you become president, how many times do you want to serve? Because we agreed that it's every 8 years, right? That's what the argument was. And you can see the manipulative tendencies of politicians and how they play bad opposition politics. So rather than allowing Atiku to win, knowing that if he wins in 2031 or whatever, let's even say the man decides he wants to stay 8 years, one of you in the south is going to become president. This is the same thing they did for Jonathan. If they had allowed Jonathan to just say, okay, this second time you said you were not going to go, but you are going, okay, let us let you go again. I said, after this one, now up north, one of those people, Saraki, Atiku, and I always tell people that in politics, even 20 years is a short time. This democracy that we're looking at, this one that we're looking at, has been here since 1999. We're now in 2025. So you do your math, 26 years. So in politics, 20 years is a long time. It's a short time. So even 4 years, 8 years, he will come and go. Look at Buhari is retired. Buhari is in Daura, sleeping and waking up in peace. So it's just a matter of being patient, and playing your cards right. But to let power leave your political party to go elsewhere, almost like saying that you are the king of your village, but because your brother is annoying you, or let's even use your stepbrother, you don't want your stepbrother to be king, you want your brother, but your brother is not entitled to it. You say, okay, let me go and give it to the person in the next compound, and you now give it to them. Do you think you'll be able to sleep in the palace? And these are the things that I always try and preach to politicians. So in 2019 as well, these 5 guys also worked against Atiku and Obi. So when people say, oh, Atiku messed up Obi, no, it is these guys that messed up. Because if you remember, Abia in particular was a shocker. Buhari got almost 40,000 votes out of about 90,000 or 100,000. We were like, we just managed to beat him in Abia. Buhari doesn't get anything in the southeast. So you can see how these people worked to prevent their own party from winning. So even if the argument in 2023 was, I know it must go to the south, our argument would have been, what about 2019? Why didn't you let it go to the north, even if it's for 4 or 8 years? Because it will still come back to the south. You could have said, Oga, we're only supporting you for 1 term. Go and do it 4 years. Because Buhari has done 4 years. If you win now, 4 years, we don't want to hear anything. And luckily, his vice is a southerner. So it makes sense, but they decided that they were not going to do that. So what is our role as ordinary citizens? I mean, some of us are politicians, but we that were not in government, we that were not in opposition, the market woman, the Okada rider, the teacher, the tailor, the doctor, the lawyer, the engineer, what is their role in this whole opposition politics? You know, it is essential. I always say, any government in power, you see them as the enemy, because they're the only ones capable of making decisions that can harm you at the time, you know, in material time. So any government that is in power, you must see them as technically, in quotes, an enemy. You know, you don't praise them, because no government in Nigeria has ever done anything fantastic. You know, and you know, I was just saying a few days ago about the class of governors we had in 1999. And this is one reason why I joined the PDP in 2003, 2004, because I believe that the kind of people I was relating with in the PDP, seeing at meetings, you know, the way they carried themselves, they were a bit more learned, a bit more exposed. There were people like Donald Duke. I mean, imagine Donald Duke in 1999, 2002. Look at how sharp he was, spoke very well. I knew his brother, you know, so I knew the kind of home they came from, you know, or should I say I know his brother. I mean, it's not like when I say knew, like we're mates in school, very good friends till tomorrow. So I knew the kind of people, the kind of quality of people that were in the PDP at the time. And I liked that. I thought it was such a good thing. There were doctors like Peter Odili. There were people that served in the military. There were all a bunch of people. There was even a Reverend Jolly Yame. That one stole money, but who doesn't in Nigeria? You know, the kind of politics we play. You know, you know, but it was basically a diverse group of people, you know, who came together. And then look at the crop of ministers of Okonjo Iweala. We had Nasir El-Rufai, who is not my favorite person today, but back then, the stuff he was doing in Abuja was unimaginable. I think it's only Wiki that is matching that capacity today, you know. And when you look at all that, you know, you ask yourself, okay, apart from these people I've mentioned, who has really blown your mind as a governor? Which state are you saying, Kai, they have constant electricity, I want to move there? Which state are you saying they have good schools, public schools? I want to move, because in England here, I tell my friends when they relocate that, look, or they bring their kids here, if you've got like skilled worker visa or whatever, don't go and carry your child to private school. We call them public schools here. You know, don't carry them to a state school. It's free of charge. You don't pay any money. You know, you don't stress yourself. You just donate something to the school every term. But you know, a lot of Nigerians still think that the private education system is the best, and they don't mind paying the funds. So here I can even argue that if I drove to Oxford this morning, I was like, hi, I should bring my wife here. This place is like an hour from London. Perhaps we could move here as we get older. It's nice and green. It's not like London that is everywhere you look, you see a house. This one you can still see, you know, tons of forest and leaves and trees. So we can go for walks, you know, breathing fresh air. It's not a busy city like that. It's a university city. You know, where in Nigeria could you go and say, I can actually see myself living here? This place is more peaceful. It has good security. There are jobs. There are roads. There are beautiful houses. They are affordable. Nowhere. So what is it that we then applaud in Nigeria when we say, oh, this governor is doing well. He paid salaries. I mean, I always say that it's the most preposterous thing I've heard. The people he's paid, did they not work? You know, it's not a charity now that's giving out free money. You know, even if they didn't work, he employed them, Abi, and he should essentially give them stuff to do. So the point I'm making is that we must begin to, you know, really, you know, stop being so friendly to government. You know, I think that's the kindest terms I can use, and be a bit more demanding. We must be greedy. We must be like, you know what? Government has built us this lovely expressway, and we've never seen anything like this before. However, it doesn't have street lights. However, it's only 2 lanes. Why can't we have 4 lanes? There's space on the both sides. We must always be thinking about. That's why this country, you know, I always, you know, I'm amazed. I mean, I was out of here for about 14 years. I mean, it is a lifetime. but I used to come in and out occasionally. But what I found when I came back here in 2017, and I went to the tube station, I couldn't get a travel card to travel, because in the past you go to a machine, it gives you where you're going, blah blah. You punch it in, you put your money in, and then you just walk through and show your ticket to the guy standing there. When I got there were machines everywhere. I was like, what am I supposed to do? You know, I was confused, because they've developed. Tomorrow, when you go back there, you see them removing some machine. But the one that was there wasn't bad now. They're always making progress, always thinking about how to make people's lives easier. And yet, if you hear the way they criticize government in this country, you'll be shocked. I've never gone one day in this country without power. What am I even saying? 1 day, 1 hour? There are times that I think there have been maybe a repair being done, but they will give you notice. This is going to be done. Maximum, you will not have like between 5 and 7 p.m. But once the repair is done, we'll turn you back on. We apologize. They will even give you compensation if anything gets bad. And yet, if you hear the way people talk about government in this country, you'll be afraid. My dad especially, my dad who was born in Ijebu or something, he will be telling you about the NHS, but that's because my dad moved here in 1999 when he retired. So what he saw when he came here in 1999, and I can attest to that, was a hospital system where you pick up your phone, call your GP, I don't feel what they say. Okay, come in for an appointment in 2 hours. You go there, they check you, they say, oh, I think you need to first, they send to your hospital, you get things done. Within a few days, you're done. Today, I need to do a blood test. I just do a routine. I booked my blood test over a month ago. I have to go online, book it. They'll say they don't have any dates till 1 month's time. So I'm waiting 1 month to do a blood test. Don't get me wrong, it was an emergency. They will obviously escalate that because they probably left some slots. But the point I'm making is that my dad is complaining about how that change. It's not like he's been sleeping outside in the hospital or anything, but and they complain about my dad even was a member of the Conservative Party and left the party before they lost elections because he said that he didn't like what they were doing. So you can see the level, and every time they complain in the country, I will just be quiet. I'll be this should go to Nigeria. They will know what government is. This government is bad. But I do understand what they're saying. Like, if you've lived here for a long time, like I came here in 92, and after the MKO debacle. So I know what I met when I came here, how great the system was, how things were. In fact, I used to joke that when we used to walk on the streets in North London, they used to look at us like, like, oh, black people, like that's how the area was at the time. But if you walk on the streets now, where you won't see Nigeria, everybody, black people everywhere. So the country has like developed so much, but yet they are struggling. So we need to be extremely unapologetic about our criticism of government and, basically continue to demand for more and more and more. So on a final note, well, before we do our questions and answers session, I believe that opposition is even more important than government, because with the way we're going to a one-party state, if there's no opposition, what do you think government will do? They'll just sit back and relax. Now, who is going to challenge them when the election comes? Everybody is in one party now. So once you get ticket, everybody will go. You know what will happen like the old days when they will say APP has endorsed the candidate of PDP. This one has endorsed the candidate of PDP. There will be no election. The man with the most money and who is in power will just automatically, and the next thing we know, they say they want third term. And I don't mind it. And I always say that I regret Obasanjo not getting his third term, because I believe that he did so well for Nigeria, and that his third term, fourth term, and look at when you see Baba today, don't you think this man is still strong, still very cerebral compared to some of the presidents we've had and the ones that we have now. And yet, this man has been out of power since 2003. 22 years. Can you imagine? And look at, if you see Baba now and say, Baba, what do you think about the economy? He will tell you, oh, this one and that one. He will sit down. You won't have to, you won't stumble, And so to conclude our lecture, that you may not necessarily like, and I've tried to discourage people from saying that, PDP and APC are the same. They may be the same, But as long as they can challenge each other for power, it is important that we make them fight against each other until we can get an opposition party that can be filled with saints and good people. LP, as you can see, has disintegrated within a space of 2 years. Unbelievable. PDP has lasted since 1999, but they too, they seem like they've baffled now. So we must begin to look beyond this, looking for the ideal president, the best president, the non-corrupt president, the saint president. The problem is that you choose between the devil and the deep blue sea. Until you're able to, because eventually it will happen. But we need to play the patient game and continue to build up this new coalition of individuals will still be PDP and APC people at the end of the day. So we need to continue to, there are people that can win elections. And there are people that cannot win elections. So we need to build that alliance and make sure that we continue to challenge government. If government is not challenged, they will not do anything. They will not even bother fixing your road, because what's the punishment if you don't fix your road? Nothing. Last time you go to election and you not vote, the election will come, you won't vote. No problem, they'll still announce results now, even if it's 2 people that voted for them, but nobody voted for anybody else. It's good. So we must ensure that opposition gets required support from us, and that even when the opposition becomes government, they too start to suffer what government suffers, because government is not anybody's friend. And I think on that note, I would like to say thank you for listening. I hope I haven't bored you at all this evening. And I hope that you'll have some questions that I can answer. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Very timely and insightful discussions, especially with all that is happening in our polity. Thank you so much, Mr. Babashola Kuti. Now we will take questions. I've seen that there are a lot of comments and people going back and forth on
I haven't seen that. So interesting.
Yes. So there have been comments in the chat box, but I really guess that there are individuals who have questions. So let's do this quickly. If you have a question, kindly raise up your hands. I'll ask you to unmute and then, okay. I'm seeing the hands come up. Ibrahim Umar, let's start from you. I have asked you to unmute. Please keep it short so that we can take as many as we can. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you, Baba Kuti. Nice seeing your face.
Thank you.
Yeah, from your face, I saw that you're not taking a leather water. So thank you very much for your thank you very much for your insightful presentation. My question is at the course of your presentation, you talked about that there's a place where the politics were played in terms of you must be elected member of the National Assembly before you will be nominated for a minister in the country.
Yeah.
So are you saying that we should, as a Nigerians, we should emulate that? It will favor us, and it will make our ministers to be strong or work more?
Yes.
That's my question.
Yes, it isn't just about them working more. It's also about them understanding why they are there. Because in the parliamentary system that we practice here, you cannot become a minister unless you're a member of parliament. That's why every time you see them showing somebody Secretary of State for Defense, you see MP, member of parliament. Because first of all, you go and win an election in your area. You represent your people. You come to parliament. Then based on some parameters, skills, promises, they make you a minister. So when you are delivering whatever you are delivering, not only delivering on behalf of the government you serve, you are delivering, your people are also watching what you are doing, And I think that it is this idea of bringing non-politicians to be in government that actually creates a lot of problems for us in Nigeria. I believe that when you bring somebody who has nothing to lose, what is the pension to serve? But if they had an election coming up and they go and perform dismally, they know they're not going to come back. Like they don't come back, they cannot be a minister. You understand? So the idea is basically that you have to perform, because if your constituency is not happy with what you've done as minister, they'll be like, This guy, we will send somebody else to go and represent us. And then maybe that one will become minister and do better. And I think that is what is still keeping this country slightly on its toes. You know, I believe that the parliament system trounces the presidential system. You can see the nonsense that's going on in America with Trump just, you know, reading out law after law, saying special decrees, like a military man, you know. And why did the same in Nigeria? Tinubu probably did one or two, but not as many. But the point is that it is now, you know, we may not even adopt that process, that system of government in entirety. We might have a little bit of a tweak, but the idea is basically that we will have a system that creates like more accountability for anybody who is in government. I think that was the point I was trying to make.
Okay, very well said. Thank you, sir. I'll take Ijoma. Ijoma, I see your hand up and I've asked you to unmute now. Akachuku, Markfred Ijoma, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, Mr. Kuti. I want to really appreciate your audacity. I think you have been one of those that have come out here and didn't really look at or maybe my ways. You just spoke truth to power. Though I might I agree to many things that you have said, and also I might also oppose to many things that you have also said at some extent. So my question now is this concept of being able to energize the opposition. How can the citizens now? Because it seems as if, even like as you rightly said, the APC and the PDP are like almost the same thing. Like it's more like mixing water at the same time. So how can we be able to say, how can we be able to now like it's no more about the party lines now, because now I don't even believe more of let's choose between the devil and the deep blue sea now. I feel like at this stage Nigeria needs someone that is competent, someone like maybe with a good character, and then someone that is also like energized. So we have gone past the issue of, okay, let's go and choose between two bad people, and then have patience that, okay, with time it's going to get better. Because like in the next 4 years now, most of us here will be as even aged and 2 years or so we don't really have time to be doing mathematics and the rest. So now, as citizens now, how best do you suggest that beyond the party lines or the normal, maybe traditional parties that we know, how can we be able to strengthen our own opposition and call this government to question, and then also maybe make them a lot more accountable, like in their policies, in their decisions, in their decrees and whatsoever. Like I'm talking about both the legislator, the judiciary, the executive arm, and beyond, like even the state governments, the local governments, and the rest. So how can we be able to strengthen our opposition as citizens? Thank you, sir.
That was a very good question. Thank you for being so thoughtful as you asked that. And I agree with you that we should be beyond political parties now. And you know what? There's a live example that I'm glad that I'm alive at this time when Peter Obi ran. I was one of the people that felt he would do damage to PDP, but maybe 1 or 2 million votes. But even with all the suppression of votes, look at what he did in Lagos. Even with all the suppression of votes, the manipulations, this man, without any party, without spending money, without sharing money, delivered 6 million votes. If you take, I was having a discussion with some of my leaders in PDP this morning, and as usual, people are still optimistic. I'm like, look, people are just talking absolute nonsense. I said, look, Peter Obi spent maybe 2 billion. I'm talking about everything, because I know he has money in his campaign account. I was shocked when I saw that. But the point is, let's just say everything that happened for PDP was, let's say 2 billion naira. I said, do you know that when I calculated the number of votes he got, it was about 330 naira per vote. Ask Atiku how much he spent. Ask Tinubu how much he spent. When we know that APC and PDP, they are giving people 5K, 10K to vote, 3K, 5K. Somebody spent 330. He didn't share money. So it has proved to you, and I said this after the election, that one thing Peter Obi has reinforced is what my mother always said: a good name is worth more than silver and gold. And he was able to deliver, a mandate to his, the people who supported him, and he has continued to show that character, through and through. So there are not many Peter Obis, but there are many characters more flamboyant than Peter Obi. And in Nigeria, we like flash, because let's be honest, we like people like Obi Kubana, one Nigeria, Yabo Ojo, Polo, people that have Rolls Royce that we like. We also like. We don't have a problem. We don't fight with them, as long as they are decent people. So imagine a character who is a lot more flamboyant than Peter Obi, like an Abiola, MK Abiola kind of character that has money, businesses, and we know his source of wealth is legit. He may be affiliated to government in one way or the other, but the point is that we know he's a likable guy. He donates to charities, he donates to schools, universities, and he comes out to contest for an election. And on his own mandate, even with any political party, we can see that with a Labour Party that has never done anything in the presidential election, Peter Obi was able to garner 6 million. It has proven one thing, and I kept on saying it to them even today. It has proven one thing, that the only thing that can remove this current government is a revolution. When I say a political revolution, the kind that the government wake up in the morning, and when they even start seeing the vote, the results coming out, they will put their hand on their head. Kai, we can't change this one. We have lost to. They cannot be expecting it, and I think the people need to start saying stop saying, I'm supporting Peter Obi, I'm supporting Atiku, I'm supporting this one, I'm supporting that one, because government will just be counting number. Okay, this one 5 for Atiku, 3 for. Let them just say that I am not supporting this government. Let us start from there. The day of election, they will know. They will say they are supporting Nigeria. The day of election, in their quietness, they will go and vote, and they will make a definitive statement. I honestly always believe that there are more people in Nigeria that want to vote for people rather than people that win. When the other won the election, we didn't have any doubts in our mind who won. When Buhari won, there was a bit of maybe not, but we know Buhari has, I would say only 2 people in Nigeria have that factor, Buhari and Peter Obi, that have cause of whether that will not collect 1 kobo from them, but they will die defending their votes. So we know that these things are moving. So there's a pattern that is emerging. So as citizens, we must become quite clever as to the kind of politics we are playing now. It was the politics of elimination. Let us get rid of this one. When this one goes, we now look at this one. How can we make this one the king? We have to start thinking far ahead and working together. Forget tribe, forget religion, and work together as a unit to get a leader that will give us a country that works. Because honestly, I promise you, if you have a leader, even that devil, El-Rufai, I'll call him a devil because sometimes he says some stupid things. If he was president of Nigeria, there will be a kind of direction that you'll be going and you'll be thinking, okay, some of this is not bad. So imagine if you now get someone that has a good character that cares for people. Like I always tell people, I always see them in PDP, that when I used to tell you people 10, 15 years ago, that anything that happens in the country, let us be the first ones to get there. I think Peter Obi, if boss jams somebody here now in Mushin, tomorrow morning Peter Obi is with the person. I say, he may not go there and give them 10 million, no. He may give them 70,000 to pay their hospital bill. But guess what? He will be there. There's nothing a rich man can send you money when you are in distress. But for him to turn up, take his time to come and meet you. It means the world to anybody that's watching it. And I think that these are the lessons that some of us should learn, even as if some of you decide to go in politics, that there's nothing wrong with compassion. Caring for people is the first sign of being a good leader. And if you don't have that discipline that you are passionate or empathetic when people are in problems, you are in the wrong. Politics is not the job that you are in. You shouldn't be in politics. But thank you for that question.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll move on quickly.
I know I'm talking too much.
Okay, let me ask Young Innocent. Please you can ask your question. Please just make it brief as possible. No preamble speed.
All right. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Sir, thank you very much. I want to really thank you for your lecture. It's very, very inspiring. And the question, your answer to the question, the last question, really shows me that you really speak about conscience-driven leadership, which is very, very important in Nigeria. That's what we need, people who have conscience, because if they have conscience, we won't be going through all what we are going through today. So, sir, thank you for that very much. So, sir, I want to ask you a question. I want to know why the people in government, like the present administration, most times, like you say, the people that are not in the government are the opposition party. You understand? So I want to ask, why are they so scared of people in the civil space, like the NGOs? Why are government so scared of them? Like they don't like seeing civil society, a group, like NGO coming together to sit down, because I believe that that the people in non-governmental space, they are a major opposition party that really drive and motivate the citizens, to request for accountability, to request for things from government, to make inquiry about how government is running every day, their everyday administration. So I want to know why government are so scared of, they find it very difficult to work with the civil society and NGOs. Why? Thank you.
You kind of answered the question yourself, because the other part that maybe you haven't thought about is that unlike opposition political parties, the CSOs, they are not interested in, they're not talking because, and people know, when the opposition party is talking, people will say, when he gets there, he will do the same. But the CSO is not going there. He's not interested, he's not contesting. So when they talk, people tend to listen more than, these people, they are in charge of the liberty space. They must know about law. They are all lawyers. They are talking about, the legal consequences of government's actions. People listen more. And the CSOs are also being governed in a space where international agencies are partnering with them. And for instance, the Electoral College is being, I know at some point, used to be partnered by international, I'm sure they still are to some extent, even not for Trump. And they're listening, they're seeing everything you're doing, they're taking stock of it. So the government is always afraid of CSO because they have a far-reaching, their decisions are far-reaching, more or less. It just doesn't get tabled in newspapers. It also, a lot of organizations and countries in the world are also looking at what those reports and taking them seriously. So I think that's why, and I don't think you should ever expect. It's like the media. Government will never be happy to partner with media or allow media to be free as long as the government itself is not being true. If the government was being sincere, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So thank you for that question.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We move quickly. Trying to make it as balanced gender-wise, but I don't think I have seen a feminine hand just yet. Yes, so I will go with Olutunji Timothy Ajao. I've asked you to unmute, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really love the presentation. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, because of time, actually, I wanted to use illustration of NLC and the electricity tariff before, but because of time. Now,
go on.
Yeah, I actually like, if I were to, okay, let me just go straight because I would have loved to talk, but there's no much time. Now, it's more of talking more about what you have said, sir, about the fact that no government loves opposition. And at the same time, it is not the duty, in fact, opposition cannot love the government because it is not the duty of the opposition to love the government, but to love the states, as in to love the country. And I feel that is the problem that many of the citizens actually have. Many Nigerians actually believe that once they do anything that amount to opposition, then they will be seen as a party member. So most time we have issue in the creating dichotomy between the opposition and political party. So we don't know that it is not only when you are in the opposition that, when you are in the political party that you can actually talk to government and about the activities of the government. And we must always know the fact that, just as you have said earlier on, it is not our duty to love a government or to love a party, but it is our duty to love our country. So when a party is doing something that we feel can help our country, so be it. But when we feel they are not doing well, then we must be able to actually talk about this. And that is why we too, because like I wanted to talk about the issue of the NLC. Before NLC was talking about the electricity tariff, and each of time they talk, you see most of the citizens criticizing NLC again. But now the presidency itself had talked about this same tariff that it is killing. Even the president, deputy governor of Lagos has also said the same thing. Several federal universities have complained about the same thing. Public universities have complained about the same thing. But now we have a body making the same complaint, and we, the citizens, are seeing the body as the enemy of the government. So I think this is where the main problem lies. We citizens do not realize the fact that our duty is to protect our country, not to protect a party or to protect the politicians. Because just as I said before, ordinarily, they don't want any opposition. And where there's no opposition, you do what you like, whether it is okay or it is not okay. And without opposition, without us actually doing this, then we must know that there can never be a good governance. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, very well said, Timothy. You are 100% correct that it is funny that it is the same citizens who are suffering from some of these bad policies that will be fighting people who are trying to, and it's sometimes the frustration of politicians as well in opposition, because like I said, they have something to gain. So if they talk, they say, because you want to win election, because we lost last election, you're angry, you're bitter, this and that, so it then discourages them from saying more, but you are right, we need to talk to ourselves more as citizens. When I was in Nigeria, even when I come, I don't distinguish myself from anybody else. In fact, I don't do all that convoy. I want to go to the market. I want to just talk to the Okada man that's in front of my house and say, how far? What's going on? How are you managing? What's new? Just to find out the pulse of the people. It's so important that all of us, as we go about our duties, our daily tasks, we engage with ordinary citizens like ourselves and ask them what their challenges are, and because it helps you to shape, direction. And then you can also whisper to them that if you have this challenge, and who caused the challenge, the election, don't sleep. Did you vote in the last election? They say no. Next election, go out. Don't tell them who to vote for, because that's the mistake people always make. Make sure you don't vote for APC. No, my uncle is in APC. Just tell them, just make sure you go and vote at the last. If you didn't vote before, go and vote this time. Forget about who they are voting for, because if the anger gets enough, when they get there, they're not stupid, they know what to do. They will do the right thing. And I think, just continue to engage as you go out on your normal day. Anybody you see, security guard at the eatery, the man at the bank, the teller, anybody, big or small, engage them and just discuss politics with them with a non-partisan slant and see what you get from it. No, thanks for that question.
Okay. Very well said. I'll take Stephen Abba. I'll ask you to unmute, please.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening, Stephen.
Thank you very much, facilitator. One thing this class has actually succeeded in doing is to answer questions I ought to have asked before, and even your slides too. But there's something I need us to know. We've been talking about the people. One of the conditions that will make opposition to flourish is that the citizens should support the opposition. And one of the conditions that will make it to fail is that the people are not supporting the opposition. Now, what powers do these people have? Because at the end of the day, it's the people in Nigeria, it's Nigerians that are the receiving end. Yes. Anytime, let's say, two senators are fighting, is their constituency that is suffering. Correct. We had SARS here, people were killed, nothing happened. So what powers do these people have? And let me just go further a little, because I may not have time to say what I'm going to say. In most of the professional courses we have in this country, people have to go to school to become part of that profession. For example, you need to go to law school to become a lawyer. You need to do ICANN or ANAN to become a chartered accountant. I think ECN should also be, there should be legislation that before you become a politician in this country, you should go to ECN, because there are many things you are saying now and other facilitators have said that has opened my eyes personally. Yeah. And I think if I'm walking into politics now, I'll work with a different mentality from what I'm saying. Now, back to the question I'm asking. What is that power that the people have
that can actually, because I used to say that a place where leaders don't fear the people, what you see is corruption. People don't bother, your leaders don't bother about what you say, how you feel. They just do whatever they want to do, and they feel their past or their cronies who is somewhere there or their money can actually open doors for them. What is that particular power that I have as a citizen that can actually make a politician to be afraid that if I don't do this, this is what these people are going to do? Thank you.
I mean, that question is very simple to answer. It's the power of the vote and the power of persuasion. One of the things that I've always said is like, if anybody has ever done marketing, is that they tell you that, yeah, it's great, you can advertise on TV, but the greatest marketing tool is what? The one that you speak, the referral from the tongue, power of the mouth. That's the greatest marketing tool, word of mouth. So at the end of the day, it is knowing that the citizens can galvanize against them. Like, you can see a lot of stuff like that happening across the world, where citizens wake up and say, oh boy, this opposition ain't gonna win. And they choose somebody and I've given an example of Peter Obi. I would have loved to see what would have happened in a free and fair election, that what would the real result be. Let's imagine that nobody did anything and they just see the result. It would have been interesting to see. Because the point I'm making is that it has been done. What you're asking has already been done. 2023 served as notice for everybody in Nigeria that one man with a good name, integrity, ideas can actually change a lot and can do sufficient damage. The only problem is that Peter Obi was taking PDP votes. If he was taking APC votes, Tinubu would not be president. That's the truth. So we probably got the worst candidate ever, I think, out of the three. Not because he doesn't have ideas. Because I met him, I've known him since when he was governor. I visited him in his home here. My father grew up with the Tinubus in Lagos. We still go to Lagos. My dad still takes me to see some of them. But that's not the point. The point is that are these people, do they even have the desire to stay in Nigeria like the one they come to when they go to a hospital in Britain? I used to tell people one thing. They say, Tinubu did what he did in Lagos, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well and good. But I always say, show me a world-class hospital, public hospital, or public school in Lagos. One. Yet, when people have come, they have come to build Harrow College in Nigeria, in VI there. One is building, I can't remember the name of that school. It's a school in London, but they have taken it to Nigeria because they think it's better. Parents don't want their children to come here, anymore. They prefer for them to go to these schools in Nigeria. So the point I'm making is this. If somebody can come and build a world-class school in your country, why can't you build just one in the whole of Lagos, one world-class hospital that people will be coming from everywhere to come and these are simple questions. And again, and so you just know the answer to these questions, that as people, you must just be angry enough to just deal with these politicians once and once you deal with one, I promise you they will never try it again. Everybody will sit up.
Yeah. Okay. We have 4 more questions.
Okay, let's take them.
To be quick so we can wrap up by 6:30. Tiamiu Taufik Akinkumi, I've asked you to unmute, please.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Tiamiu.
Good evening, sir. Mr. Babasola Kuti. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Actually, for me, I have a particular question that has been bothering my mind. Last election, through a particular NGO. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes, I was fortunate to serve as an observer during the gubernatorial election and the presidential election. So it added more to my experience based on the Nigerian politics as has been played, because I also study political science while in school. So on this note, I want to say that before we can talk about a vibrant opposition party in Nigeria, so there's need for us to understand the nature of our politics, the culture, and the structure of our political system. Because I see vote buying, a lot of people, they are not being orientated on the essence of voting. They just believe that once you have this name, who are you supporting? Some, they are also coming to the polling station to just ask, hello, my friend, who should I vote for? Okay, how much are you going to give me?
Exactly.
So when we have all this mentality, looking at the political culture and the nature, even the political structure, the institution, so I don't think we can have a vibrant party, because people that we regard as opposition party, they are not truly opposition party. And the only reason why I see that we cannot have it is because let's look at the political party defection. So in a particular, during a particular election, you heard that a particular candidate comes from this political party. So the fact that the person is not representing the masses. So if the person is not being given a particular slot to contest, they will run to another political party. So they are not running for the interest of our country or for the interest of the citizens, but for their own benefit. Are they being the constitution can truly define a political party? Once you have a particular ideology, once you belong to a political party, probably from the tender age, that you belong to PDP, you are going to do PDP for life. Or you belong to APC,
that will make a nonsense of the freedom of association in the constitution. You will have to amend the constitution to do that.
Exactly, now, because when the rate of party defection is reduced, then people can easily stand on their toe to oppose the government and for the government to do what is good. And I think fighting for the interest of the masses, the people that are in the best place to do this, they are the Nigeria Labour Congress. I was asking someone, I was telling the person that NLC, they are fighting for reduction or increment in price of fuel. So for Nigerians to be okay, we don't have interest in increment of salary. So some years back, people have 15 naira. So what you can use 15 naira to buy then, we cannot use 10,000 naira to buy it now due to increase in price. So if the citizens working in collaboration with the NLC, you can say that, okay, for 4 years of a particular government, 4 years, first 4 years, we want establishment of industries, at least 2 per state or 2 per local government. Even the state government should also have their own impact. I make use of an example yesterday, class, that a state whereby we have millions of people within a state who are unemployed, while the government are budgeting huge amount of money to build motor parks. Are the graduates going to work at the motor parks? So it's being built for the thugs, so which is not effective. So what kind of policy are we going to pass if you are not going to have a vibrant political opposition? So my question was now that, how can we now have a vibrant opposition party if the citizens are not all that being orientated based on the political culture, the structure, and the nature of our political system? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you are correct. Those two things will just not work together. It is difficult because don't forget also that some of these citizens are suffering from poverty of the mind and poverty of economic poverty. Being that there isn't, like I said, a world-class educational institution in any part of Nigeria that belongs to the government. There isn't a world-class facility for people to learn skills. We don't even have fantastic mechanics in Nigeria. I mean, like, you'd expect a country like Nigeria with so much labor, people, young people as well. They say our economy is full of young people to have skills. You know, people look. Forget about going to. I always say that one of the greatest problems that I think people think over education is so important. And yes, it is, but it's just primary and maybe secondary school education that's important. When it comes to university, not everybody needs to go, because some of us are going to read dentistry and then we turn around and become tailors or start baking cake or open restaurants. It's a waste of resources and time. So what we should do is, yes, educate ourselves. Some you want to go to university, but just know that it isn't compulsory. Learn a trade, learn a skill. That's how to grow an economy. And I think that if we have more people that are able to sustain themselves, you then not need to galvanize anybody for anything. Nobody will be going to a podium to go and be asking for 2,000 naira or how much are they giving me? Who should I vote for? They will go and do whatever. That's why you and I will not ask for 2,000 because we're not in that scale. And if the more, and that's why I say it's not coincidental. It is what governments have done over the years to make sure that less and less people are educated so that they're not aware, and the less and less people are poor. And that's what the problem is.
Thank you.
All right. We'll take Olusegun Nelson quickly.
Okay, we have 3 more.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Kuti.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes. Of course, we cannot rule out opposition politics. But as a matter of fact, I don't think we have a sincere or genuine opposition party in Nigeria, even in Lagos as of today. I don't think we have. I will tell you reason and why. And because most opposition parties, probably you find their wives as a director in one of the ministry, and the husband happens to be the chairman of a political party. So tell me, how would that person fight the government? Or probably another chairman is looking for a job for his or her children. He has to go to the government. How will such person condemn that particular government? Until when the people who are not in politics are ready to form an opposition by themselves, that is when we can be able to have a strong and a vibrant opposition in our politics. I think I just want to have a kind of a contribution to what you said, sir.
You are correct. In fact, as you talked about that you are going to, I remember Bode George's wife, Rolly, was, I think she was in charge of NDLA or something like that. While he was in opposition, I mean, it's a no-brainer, really. There's so much conflict of interest, in politics in Nigeria that it's almost laughable. But again, it's that thing. Like I always ask people, like me now, if you tell me, what do you do for a living? I can tell you 3 or 4 things, and I can point to 3 or 4 things I'm doing at the moment. Some of these people, they don't have any life outside politics. If they are not in political appointments, they are getting a political appointment for their wife or their children. This is all they do. They cannot run a sweet shop for 1 week without it crashing, collapsing. So it's part of the devices that were created by previous administration to keep people, because imagine if there were 20,000 factories in Nigeria. There'll be hardly poor people, because those factories will birth industries, birth economic areas around the factories where people can sell things, and everybody will be busy. In fact, Donald Duke told a story which I must tell very quickly, that when he was governor of Cross River, that when they were doing the projects in Cross River, the main road, the Tinapa project, and they brought the idea to him, he said, no problem, fantastic. The only thing that he would demand is that every single employee on those projects is from Calabar. He said, for the period those jobs where construction work was going on, there was hardly a case of crime in Calabar and Cross River. There was hardly that, because all the young people were busy. And, so you get what I'm saying, that at the end of the day, there's a lot of restiveness from people who are wondering, what am I going to do? If I'm not in government, how will I eat? What business will I do? How will I get contract? Because this is all they do. And I've sat with a lot of politicians, as you can imagine, in my time, and some of the things they tell me shock me. Somebody will tell you, oh, somebody gave them contract, but it was only 700 million. Yes, how much is 700 million? Although I only used 50 million to do the job. I mean, just imagine the kind of things I used to hear. I was just looking at the person like me. So you made a profit of about 650 million, and you're saying, how much is it? A 30, 40-something-year-old man. So is that the kind of person that you're hoping that will play proper politics? Of course not. They are going to just, if their party loses, they will go to the other party and say, oh, I have to continue surviving. And that is the problem. But it isn't that they created that problem. The previous governments have created a system that make sure that they can always win elections. It is that system that we need to break now to be able to escape this suffering. Thank you for that question.
All right, we'll take the final question from Adeyemi Adekunle Adetayo. I have asked you to unmute, please.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate Mr. Babashola. Thank you so much for your lecture.
Thank you.
My question is just short. The question is, how do we differentiate between opposition and patriotism, and at the same time, the marketing of a country? Thank you.
That's a really good question, honestly. I don't think anybody has ever asked me that a question that deep. So let me try and define those three things separately and see if I can make sense out of it. So opposition essentially is, I'm going to do it in layman's terms. I want what you have. You are enjoying the government. See all your cars, see how all your money, see everything, see your life has changed. See your family, they're now schooling abroad. I want to be that. I want to be in your position. That's opposition. As far as I'm defining it in Nigerian terms, obviously, you know the real definition when we're talking about developed societies. Patriotism is, I would say, what I feel sometimes. Because even I was just telling somebody today in a small group I made that, even that I was never a Goodluck Jonathan fan. I was in PDP, but they knew the words. When they mention money, I know that guy is too troublesome. Don't, that guy cannot get him to bend. Don't put him in this committee. I didn't care. I would just say my mind. Patriotism is doing what is right always. It doesn't matter if your father, your mother. I always tell people the story. My father is an APC man. He grew up through the UPN, AG days. He was always in AD. He never left AD. He's an APC man. My father-in-law is an APC man. He was even served with BC Akande in Osun State. But patriotism is what I do. And my father-in-law always says, I read your Facebook post every day. And on my Facebook, I'm not kind to APC now, am I? That's what patriotism. I don't care. It's not, what everybody else doing is not my business. My own is that I want a country that works. And I say it a lot. Just to quickly tell a story, since this is the last one, I can talk, listen. A friend of mine who lives in Nigeria was telling me that, Kai, Shola, how old are your children? I told him, he said, man, this Christmas that came, his daughter is based in the UK. But she insisted she wants to come to Nigeria for 30 December. He said, Shola, I swear, I didn't sleep throughout the time she was here. I was so worried. That is when my children, if my children tell me they're going to Nigeria, God forbid, I'll follow them. We'll go together. If they want to go to club, I'll take them to the club and pick them up at 3 a.m. or whenever. I can't leave them in anybody's hands. But when they are here, they're in university outside London. I don't call them every night to make sure they're in bed. Not that bad things don't happen, but the problem is that you want a country where you are not afraid that something is going to happen that you're going to blame yourself. That's it, patriotism. And what was the third one? I've forgotten now. I've lost my chain of thought. Can you unmute him?
Okay, let me unmute him.
Yeah. What was it? Patriotism and the third one. Was it?
He said patriotism.
Anyway, but you get the point. The point is that, and I think he said the last one was I think maybe like an unfair criticism. Maybe like and I think the last one was what did he call it? I mean, but I get what he was trying to say, that, and then to be able to distinguish between when you are demarketing the country. That's what he said. And it is difficult not to demarket a country like Nigeria. I'll just give you an example. Somebody did not sleep for 3 or 4 weeks. He said when his daughter went back, he was like, hey, thank God. That is not demarketing Nigeria. It is highlighting the problems within Nigeria. That in fact, Nigeria is demarketing you because you can't sleep. And then there's that outright, Nigeria is bad. It's like Kemi Badenoch. I don't know if you guys know her, the opposition leader here, who went to my school in Iceland and told them, he's telling the whole world Nigeria is a jungle. They stole our brother's shoe and what police removed it. it went down. She couldn't sleep at night. She ran to London with only 100 pounds in her pocket as a 16-year-old. I was like, I didn't even come to this country with 100 pounds. 100 pounds is a lot of money in those days now. You know, so that is the marketing. That is basically throwing your country under the bus in a way where people will say, what kind of country is this? Because I play tennis, so I go to a club that has all sorts of people from us, and I'm always proud to tell them I'm Nigerian. When they say, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Nigeria. Right? I have a friend who's Nigerian. I would never demarcate my country, no matter where I am. No matter when people talk, I'll give you examples of here. But this also happened here. Now. Does that mean this is a bad country? So the point is that, but it is that our country doesn't work. I saw a video of Kuli Afolayan talking to Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook owner. I think I saw it yesterday. I don't know when it happened, but as they were talking, they were talking about challenges with Nigeria film and how Facebook has helped them, and then they took lights. And Mark Zuckerberg said Nigeria. You know, is that the marketing Nigeria? The answer is no. But even Mark Zuckerberg has been there enough times to know these things happen. And it isn't a thing that we should still be talking about. So I think that, let me stop on that note. And I hope that has shed some light on it. And I want to thank everybody for still staying, even all this time, people are still listening. So have a good week. And thanks, Electoral College, for always, for starting this and continuing it. I think like I told Kule, we need to do something bigger. You know, I'll think about it and discuss it with you. You know, maybe bring all the students together when I'm in Nigeria and just really have a proper lecture and have questions and answers throughout, not even me talking. But thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy these sessions and I look forward to them.
All right, thank you so much, sir. It's been really insightful. I'll hand over to our DED, Lisa, now so that she can do the proper things on behalf of the college. Lisa, over to you, please.
All right, thank you, Adeshola. Thank you so much, Mr. Babashola. It's always an interesting and insightful class with you. Thank you for always honoring our invitation over the cohorts. All right, I'll just allow the students on mute to say thank you themselves before I end the class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I say, sir. Nagode so say.
All right, so on behalf of the Electoral College, this is saying thank you once again. All right, everyone, thank you for attending classes this weekend. Your graduation draws close. You have just 2 weeks to go. So for those who haven't done their end of cohort projects, remember you have just 1 week before the deadline. This week, you get your assignment. So let's